Hello, Ocean Story Channel is here. This time I found some interesting stories. My husband's son is very angry with his mother because of her attitude towards him. To begin with, I have been married to Logan for a long time, and we are happy to be together. I have an adult son from my previous marriage. Logan also has a son of his own, Alexander, from his ex-wife Harper. In a standard situation, my husband and Harper have joint custody of Alexander. My husband's son spends most of the year with us. Alexander is not on the best of terms with his birth mom. I don't have a problem with that. The reason why Alexander does not get along well with Harper is very simple. His mother is an extremely rational woman who can get involved in anything. Alexander gets very annoyed when his mother asks him a lot of questions or is constantly trying to teach him how to live his life. Alexander himself complained about this very often in our conversations. And of course, Harper had the same standards of behavior for her son. While in our house everything is much simpler, Logan gave permission for his son to come home until 12 at night. Alexander's mother forbids him to come home later than 11 at night. Because of such moments, Alexander has no great desire to be with Harper. The main conflict that led me to write this story happened on Alexander's birthday, the celebration of which falls on the winter holidays. For the past 5 years, Alexander has celebrated his birthday at the house where Logan and I live. This year, Harper said she wanted her son to celebrate the winter holidays with her and spend his birthday at her house. It's worth saying that Harper's new husband has a nice house, and there is really a place to celebrate. Even with such good conditions, Alexander is reluctant to think about this offer. Several times Alexander and Harper tried to come to an agreement, but my husband's son didn't like the conditions Harper was putting forward. So one day, Alexander told his dad that he would not go to Harper to be there for all the important holidays. This year, my husband and I were going to travel to the other side of America. My brother invited us to his house, and I wanted to use this chance. We hadn't seen each other for about 7 years. Alexander said he could come with us to my brother's house. However, this raises many negative issues. In order for Alexander to come with us, Harper needs to write a note saying that she gives her son permission to travel with us. Guess what Harper said to that? She does not want to let her son go so easily. Logan also didn't want his son to be in a bad mood on his holidays, so he decided to help Alexander stay with us for the holidays. He needs to talk to his ex before we can plan a trip for Alexander. Otherwise, there will be a lot of legal problems that we won't be able to handle later. Logan has been trying to talk to Harper about this for days, but it was all in vain for him. Harper wants her son to be with her for at least 1 year. She also said that she might make a few exceptions for her son this year to make him more willing to come to her. Logan could do nothing else and went to talk to his son. Alexander said that what Harper was thinking of offering him could not be interesting for him. Alexander refused to go to his own mother's house for his birthday at any cost. Logan wrote about this conversation to Harper so that she would finally let her son go. Harper was silent for a while and did not respond. Only after some time did she write back, "I will not give any permission for Alexander to fly anywhere this year." Harper said she could understand her son's reaction, but she was still not ready to lose another year. Personally, I fully understand her point of view. As a mother, I know what it's like not to see your own child for a long time, and I can understand Harper's feelings completely. When my husband heard it, he was a little surprised that I supported his ex. The situation has reached a dead end and has no solution. Logan can't come to an agreement with Harper. Alexander doesn't want to hear anything from his mother. Harper doesn't want to compromise with any of us. No one even wants to agree to a meeting with all of us. I don't think there is any way to find a solution. It's a complete madness that I can't stand anymore, and I really don't want to disrupt my trip to my brother. Because of this stupid situation, what should I do now? Evelyn, the situation you're facing with Alexander's birthday and the conflict of interest between Logan, Harper, and Alexander is undoubtedly difficult. Understandably, emotions are running high, and finding a solution requires a delicate approach. Offer a calm and neutral environment where Logan, Harper, Alexander, and yourself can openly express your concerns and perspectives. Acknowledge Harper's desire to spend time with her son, expressing understanding and sympathy for her feelings. At the same time, emphasize the importance of Alexander's desire and his strong preference to celebrate with you and Logan. Otherwise, what else is there to do to resolve this? Selfishness is being displayed by everyone involved. So if a solution is not found, someone will definitely be left without a holiday. Abigail, the strange thing is that everyone wants to solve something, but no one is ready to give in to their own opinions. It will be very fair if Alexander is with his own mother this year. According to the story, Harper is not a terrible person. She has a different approach to her son that he doesn't like. But hasn't anyone told Alexander that the world is not perfect? Not everything always works out as we want it to. And this is normal for absolutely everyone. Don't let this little guy ruin your holiday. Because the only one who creates a global problem is Alexander. If he stops being so proud, the whole situation will be solved in an instant for everyone. Ethan, what a shame. Harper is so heartless. She realizes that she can't hold on to her son and still continues to push him, thus jeopardizing your plans for the holidays. I don't know what anyone else thinks, but I think Harper wants too much from her son. In fact, Alexander has the right to choose, regardless of whose turn it is to have him. And it's strange that Harper can't give his son permission to be where he wants for the holidays. It seems to me that a mother who loves her son could understand this situation and give him permission to fly with you. My mother was never that rude to me, even though we only spoke a couple of times a year. A new story. My uncle Jacob had an agreement with my parents that he would take care of our family in any circumstances. My parents were not able to provide all the children with the necessary level of education due to lack of money. I had a very hard time during my studies. My uncle helped as much as he could back then, and I am very grateful to him for that. Now, I live with my wife Emily. We have 2 children. My eldest daughter Mila, who is now 17 years old, is going to enter college next year. Mila has decided that she wants to become a doctor and intends to treat people. This is a really commendable desire and I like it. However, the only difficulty with this is that I cannot afford a doctor's education for my daughter. I have a good job, but it is not the worst job in an average family. All the money goes exclusively to the needs of the family. I don't even remember the last time we went on a trip. One day I remembered that my uncle had an agreement with my dad and could help me pay the bill for my daughter. Moreover, I learned that Jacob had been raising money for the last 7 years. Even though Jacob has children of his own, he was able to save some money for the future. I went to my uncle and told him the situation that had arisen in my family. Jacob sat and listened with his wife. Then Jacob started to speak to me. Bruce, do you know that I also have children who are now in college? I also need to support them and provide for my family. Even if I gave you some of the money, it was not enough. We are talking about tens of thousands of dollars, and I can't give you that. Moreover, you have some savings, and you can put money aside for your daughter, not save for a new car. If you and your wife go to her parents and ask for some money, I'm sure you'll be able to cover all your financial needs without my help. At that moment, I was surprised by my uncle's words. I could not stand it and started to speak. Jacob, what about the promise you made to my father? Do your words no longer have any value? My uncle looked away from me and said, I can give you no more than 8,000 and that is all. Most of my money will be spent on my own children. I cannot allocate 40% of my budget to your daughter. I did not want to accept this. I left my uncle's house very upset. My wife noticed that I came back very upset from my uncle's house. Emily was also very surprised when she heard what I told her. However, Emily said that it would not be so bad if we agreed to take the 8,000 that Jacob was offering. I understood that even though I knew that Jacob could give more, he just didn't want to give money to my family. A few months before, my wife told me how she had talked to my uncle's wife. In the conversation with Jacob, my wife said that they had a plan to fly to Europe this summer. So I know for sure that my uncle has the money to spare. A few days later, I came to my uncle's house again and asked for help with money. Jacob told me for the last time that he would not give me more than $10,000. I immediately agreed to even that because Jacob did not want to listen to my ideas about him giving me additional money every year. I'm sure if my dad was alive and saw how his brother treated me, he would have been angry. He would have handled this situation much better than I did. The plan for Emily to go to medical school may not be certain because of my uncle's refusal. Emily is very upset that her dream can be lost so easily. I probably shouldn't be angry with my uncle at all, but I feel like I've been treated very unfairly. It would have been no problem for Jacob to give me $30,000 for this year. Michael, it seems to me that you want too much from your uncle. It may be helpful to have a calm and honest conversation with your uncle. Express your appreciation for the support he has provided in the past, while recognizing that he is financially responsible for his children going to college. Because his promise is certainly important, but it should not be more valuable than his own children. Try to understand your uncle before you judge, because I can easily understand him. How do you see it? Jacob is giving you all the money you need to pay your daughter's bills. And what happens to Jacob's children? Just thank your uncle for his kindness and distance from Jacob. Daniel, it is very disappointing to see that your uncle Jacob is not keeping the promise he made to your father. His refusal to provide substantial financial support for your daughter's education, especially when he has the means to do so, calls into question his commitment to family values. This betrayal of trust undermines the very essence of family support and leaves your daughter's dreams hanging in the balance. Jacob's decision to prioritize his own children's education over your daughter's, despite the resources available, shows a lack of empathy and compassion. And I can't even begin to understand why he was so rude to you. Jacob said something about you saving up for a car. If that's true, then he might be partially right. Ella, Jacob's actions in denying your daughter significant financial support for her education are not only disappointing, but also show a lack of integrity and compassion. His insistence on sticking to the minimum amount, despite the fact that he can offer more, is contrary to the family support he has pledged to provide. While it is true that he should not pay for your daughter's education entirely, this does not mean that when your uncle has a large sum of money, he simply refuses to help you. This is really a strong blow to family values. A new incredible story. My family recently had a small conflict involving my boyfriend and my stepmother. I have been married to Oliver for 4 years. We get along well with all our family members and have never had any problems with it. This year, we plan to invite our families to our new home to celebrate the new year together. My birth mother decided to leave our family when I was 10 years old. A few years later, my dad found a new girlfriend, Isabella, whom he met in a pet store. After 6 months of dating, my dad decided that Isabella was a good match for him and my brother and me. So Isabella became our stepmother after 4 months of getting to know her. In the first year, I didn't really like Isabella. I thought it was temporary and that we could get along. But over the years, the situation did not get better. We just talked. But there was never the same parental relationship between me and Isabella. My dad asked me or Oliver to help Isabella take her things to another house. Oliver and I were free that day, and we went to pick up my stepmother. When we loaded some things into the car and drove to the place Isabella had indicated, this small and very strange conflict happened. Our car was parked in the place where Isabella had asked. When my boyfriend Oliver was taking things out of the car, there was a small chair there, similar to the one children sit on. Oliver put it on the asphalt while he took out the bigger things. Isabella was on the phone at that moment. When she came to us, she saw that Oliver had put the table on the floor. Isabella became furious. She grabbed my husband and asked, "What right did you have to put that table on the floor?" Isabella was very angry and started saying that my husband was a stupid sheep who could not be trusted with anything, and Oliver's hands grow out of his ass, which is where his brain is. I was in a tizzy when I heard that. Of course, I've seen how aggressive Isabella can be, but this was beyond the pale. My husband even apologized to her at first, but when she started calling him names, Oliver lost his temper. They started fighting very loudly. Even some of the neighbors started looking out of their windows to see what was going on. In the end, Oliver quickly threw Isabella's things on the floor and we got out. While we were driving to our house with Oliver, I wrote to my dad about how Isabella behaved with my husband. I had nothing better to do than write to my dad. If Isabella doesn't apologize to my husband, then Isabella and my dad will not be invited to celebrate the new year together. I don't want people at the party who can ruin a relationship. That is already on the rocks in a moment. Moreover, Isabella has become as angry as a dog over a chair. I still don't know anything about it. I doubt that the King of England was sitting on it to make her behave so impudently. My dad read all this and started calling me to say that his wife wasn't serious and he was very sorry. However, Oliver and I didn't want him to apologize. I need Isabella to tell me how sorry she is and that her tongue is growing out of her ass. My dad started to say that I want too much. So that's not going to happen, and Oliver and I have to forgive Isabella without her saying sorry. Oliver said, if this is the final decision, then have a nice new year alone. After that, Oliver and I have a very strange feeling, but I know for sure that we shouldn't have forgiven Isabella for her stupid words, even if my dad asked us to. Sophia, Isabella's behavior was unacceptable, and her derogatory comments about Oliver were disrespectful. I think you and Oliver need to make Isabella reflect on her behavior and take responsibility for her actions. Perhaps if Isabella sincerely expresses regret and a desire to improve her communication, this may at least partially justify her. But after that, I could not have a good relationship with such a person. It was just a chair, not a fifth-generation vase. I think that Isabella is just a nervous woman who is not in her right mind. Benjamin, I can tell you that when I started this story, I was wondering why you didn't like your stepmother very much. Now it all makes sense to me. Work to find a common ground where Isabella admits her mistake and commits to being more tactful. Otherwise, this situation will not be resolved. She is the only one to blame here, and that is a fact. Isabella did not immediately mention that she was carrying any valuable items. That's why she attacked your husband and started humiliating him in public. It sends an evil signal that it is better to avoid a person like Isabella. I just hate people like your stepmother. She needs to go to a class where they teach you how to interact with people, because Isabella behaved like a mad monkey who attacked a man for his banana. Your father should not have defended his wife, who was clearly in the wrong. I am sorry that you and your husband went through this. A new incredible story. I have been married to Lucas for several years. We live in his house, and my husband's sister, Charlotte, lives with us. We don't have any problems living together, but there is one thing that is very difficult. I have a problem with being around someone on a regular basis. It literally starts to annoy me when someone sits next to me and munches on food or just yawns or looks at my phone. I am a very strong introvert, to put it mildly. I even get annoyed when I hear someone cooking, especially when I hear the smell of something fried coming from the kitchen. It could be meat or eggs. Now to the problem at hand. My husband is at work most of the time. I'm mostly at home because I'm still studying. My husband's sister is also often at home. Her job is related to design, so Charlotte stays at home a lot. I am not so much annoyed by her as by her actions when I am around. I had to have a serious talk with Lucas to get him to influence his sister in some way. It's like hard labor for me to be at home with Charlotte for more than 1 hour a day. My husband took this issue seriously enough and started talking to his sister. Lucas tried to prove to her that she shouldn't be too annoying and asked me a lot of questions. But Charlotte doesn't see anything wrong with that. She says it's a way of showing her love for me. I was really annoyed every day that I didn't have a free minute in the house. Finally, on Tuesday of that week, I snapped a little bit. Around 10 in the morning, I was sitting in the living room with my laptop drinking my coffee. Charlotte came out of her room and went to the kitchen. As soon as I saw that she was awake, I started packing to go to my room. I didn't want to sit next to her. Our kitchen is connected to the living room, so if you were sitting in the kitchen, you could see everything that was happening in the living room and hear everything perfectly. I wanted to avoid this, so I started to leave, almost when I had taken all my things. Charlotte turned to me and asked me to sit with her for a while. I tried to tell her that I had a lot of plans, so I couldn't be together for 10 minutes. Charlotte began to insist that I stay and that my words did not affect her. After the third time Charlotte asked me to stay with her for a while, I lost it and told her, "Charlotte, I will not sit next to you while you eat or drink coffee, even for money. I am very annoyed by all these sounds and flavors, so I'd rather be in my room without you." Charlotte looked devastated by my words. She is not the type to express her emotions, but my words clearly hurt her very much. Charlotte said, "Well, then go and shut yourself in your cave. I don't want to spend another second with you either." I was really ashamed that I said it so rudely. Now Charlotte has taken my place and is ignoring me. Even when I am with her for a moment, Charlotte goes to her room. Lucas says that he is very unhappy about what happened between us and demands that I find a way to make peace with his sister. And I may be wrong, but part of me doesn't even want to make peace with Charlotte because I now have a free space from her. But on the other hand, it's all too wrong. I'm very confused and I don't know what to do now. I feel like a stupid, selfish girl who only thinks about herself. Mia, it's important to address the situation constructively, recognizing your own needs, and considering the feelings of those around you. I think an apology for your harsh words would be a good idea. You should also assure your husband's sister that you did not mean to offend her. Share your opinion that you need personal space and quiet time because of your introverted nature. Although the chance that Charlotte will want to talk to you is not great, but this is something that can really help. Perhaps you can agree on a specific time when you both have your own space, and Charlotte can have her own time as well, because it's almost impossible to live in a house where there is an atmosphere of fighting. Amelia, the fight with Charlotte looks very strange in general. You have undoubtedly created tension, and it is quite understandable that you are feeling pain about this situation. It's important to address this issue, not just hope that it will somehow work itself out. Consider involving Lucas in the conversation to mediate and provide his perspective, because he is not only your husband, he is also a brother to Charlotte. Lucas is in a position where he is the only bridge between two worlds. I believe that only your husband can help and resolve the situation. Mason, the confrontation with Charlotte was undoubtedly painful for both of you. Perhaps you should go to Charlotte's room and work things out with her there. This dialogue can serve as an opportunity to set clearer boundaries and find compromises that meet both your need for privacy and her desire for companionship, even if she refuses to do so. Charlotte will see that you are not so insensitive, and eventually Charlotte will want to try to make peace with you. I've never heard of big conflicts over such trivial things. You seem like adults, but you clearly lack sincere conversations with each other. Charlotte's opinion that you're an asshole is justified, and it will remain so until you can recognize your own mistakes. This is a new story. My husband is planning to go to his family's house this year. I don't really care where we'll be because I don't like to celebrate anything at all. Only if the celebration is not within a cafe. After guests, you need to clean up a lot and cook a lot of dishes. It's not for me at all, so I'm just happy to go to someone else's house. When Henry said we were going to his sister's house, he hadn't seen her for a long time. I was even a little bit excited, even though I don't really know her. Henry also has a brother, Jackson, who we found out is not doing so well and is in the hospital. As we found out from my husband's sister, Jackson was very badly injured when he was repairing the roof on his house. This story really upset me because I work as a trauma therapist, so I know very well how difficult such cases can be. My husband is very eager to go to his sister's house for the holidays and to his brother's house. I have a lot of work now, especially since it is the end of winter, and many people have been injured. I have to be at work a lot, and any trip causes me some problems. In the end, my husband and I were unable to resolve anything. Henry said that we should all go to his family and put our business on hold. I'm not really comfortable with that, especially for our children, who are not even 13 years old, to travel this way. Maybe it would have been easier for me to accept if Henry hadn't forced us all to go to the hospital to visit his brother. For some reason, I don't want my children to see their uncle for the first time and in a hospital. Moreover, he is definitely not looking his best there, and it might impress our children. When I thought about it in more detail, my desire to go to my husband's sister completely disappeared. I tried to explain to my husband that I was not afraid to go to Jackson, but the fact that he is in the hospital at least will not create a good mood for all of us. Henry was a little bit offended by me and started saying that I just didn't want to be there for him in his family's difficult moments. This is not true, but my husband started to think that way. I suggested that we should go to his family after Jackson gets better and looks better. My husband did not agree to this and still has a plan to go to his brother. At the same time, Henry insists that I also go with him and our sons. I even had to ask my husband's sister to influence his opinion now. However, Henry's sister sees nothing wrong with us coming to visit Jackson now. Despite his poor condition, I tried to explain to her that it would not be a good idea from the point of view of our children, but I could not convince her that it would not be good for my sons. Henry continues to resent me and says that I am acting extremely strange in all our years together. Maybe my husband is right, but I still think we shouldn't go to my husband's relatives right now. Now Henry's whole family thinks that I don't love them, and that's why I'm doing this. Sophia, it is clear that you are in a difficult situation, caught between your family's expectations and your professional obligations. Suggest a compromise, such as scheduling a visit to his sister the week after Jackson recovers. Reassure him that your primary motivation is to provide a positive experience for your children, not a lack of love for his family. Emphasize that your intention is to make the visit meaningful and not overshadowed by the current difficult circumstances. Even if your husband thinks you are not being fair to him right now, but you can be understood just like Henry. Maybe let your husband go alone and visit his brother, and you and the children will go only to his sister. Camila, your concerns about the hospital visit and its potential impact on your children are well-founded. It is very important to explain to your husband that your reluctance is not a reflection of your feelings for his family, but rather a consideration for the emotional well-being of your children. As a mother, I can understand your reaction. If Henry wants to be with his brother so badly, he should be in the hospital right now. He should go and not take anyone with him. I think that would be the best solution for everyone. Your children will not be potentially traumatized for themselves, and your husband will spend some time with his brother. In this case, all parties will win. Sebastian, why would your husband be offended at all? Is he 10 years old or something? Henry doesn't have enough respect for your decision. If he doesn't trust your judgment a bunch of times, your husband is probably emotional right now and saying stupid things. Just ignore your husband and continue to stand by your decision. It's not a cool decision to go to the hospital with a guy you don't know right away. Your husband should realize this without you having to tell him.